Hello students. So let's continue with the audio compression module or audio compression chapter. So in the last class we have or in the last video we have just gone through the different definitions of a sound and what is the frequency range for human hearing and all those things. So we will continue with the discussion of a compression. So when we talk about audio compression, similar to the lines of text compression, we have lossless audio compression or a lossy audio compression. So if you see this lossless or lossy audio compression, normally we refer, whenever we do lossless, we refer it as a compression, and when we go for a lossy, we refer it as a encoding. So one thing you have to remember, that when we are talking about the sound, it is more difficult than the text and comparatively easy than the image. Now why is it so? If you observe this sound which we are going to compress or decompress, the text when you have done, I mean, I want to tell you that whatever methods we have implemented for a text compression, cannot we go for the same for the audio? So it will not work, because text compression, if you do it in a real time, uh, mostly it doesn't happen in a real time. Text compression doesn't uh, uh, require the need of real time, because in the text compression, the compression has to be complete first and then the user can read the entire text. Whereas when you go for audio data compression, for example, when I tell you that you have purchased a CD of 100 songs in one CD, which is MP3, and when the decompression will happen, when you want to listen to that particular song, so the decompression should happen in the real time. So for example, whenever there are 100 songs on the CD, I probably will not go in a sequence for that hearing of the song. Suppose my favorite song is at serial number 43, so I will directly press 43 on the CD player or the player device, the music device which I have, and particularly that particular song should be decompressed at that time. So that should happen at the real time. So the entirely different approach is required, or the different requirements are there when we go for a audio decompression. So we say that whatever methods we have used for text will not be will not be applicable to the audio. So let's talk about lossless audio compression now. So when I say lossless, now you should know that lossless means the entire data will be as it is. We are not going to eliminate anything, we are not going to remove anything, we are not going to delete anything. So what are you going to find in this then? Then what is the redundant data? Which data is similar? Which data is the same? Okay, so the same data can be represented with any other symbol. For example, suppose I tell you that a particular song has same notes. So we can go for, in that case, we can go for a run length coding, which can be used in this case. Resulting signal is the same as the original, the perfect reconstruction. So you also have to remember that basically the audio signal is your analog. So when you are going to do a compression, you are going to digitalize that signal. Okay, so and we also discussed that the more number of samples I take, the better the representation will be. So when you go for a lossless, you achieve a perfect reconstruction, you get the same original signal. Now when we talk about lossy audio encoding, lossy means I'm going to eliminate certain data which will not be, we will not be able to get that data again after the decompression. Okay, so it removes the irrelevant data. Now what is the irrelevant data that we will see in terms of audio, in terms of sound? What can be the irrelevant? The resulting signal is similar to the original. When I say similar to the original, that means, and if you remember when we have studied the definition of compression, we have said utility should be the same. So if it is a similar, the other party or the person who is using this decompressed data doesn't mind that quality. So this will be your lossy audio encoding or the lossy compression. So what are the things which we will be using? One thing you have to always remember, we are talking about audio compression here. We are not talking about speech. So what is the difference? Speech is what what I'm talking to you, what is generated from my vocal tract. Audio is what I'm going to hear. So here we are going to talk about what are we going to hear. We are going to compress that particular data. So speech compression uses a human vocal tract model to compress the signal. So instead, if you want to compress my particular all my lectures if you want to compress, then it will be better that you define a model which will represent my vocal tract, so that vocal tract is nothing but from where this particular sounds are generated. So if you are able to model that, you will not be able to, you need not go through my entire lecture, all 25 lectures, and find out to compression. So speech is normally compression is done with the help of model. Audio compression does not use this technique due to larger variety of possible signal variation, because when I talk about speech, I'm talking about a particular person. I know if I model the human vocal tract, the sounds which are coming from that vocal tract will be similar. I am creating a mathematical model. When I talk about audio compression, it is which sounds I hear. So if you see, there are numerous sounds which are there. So it will be very impossible to design a model for all these things. So what is a generic audio encoder you have? So the moment we say encoder, you have to remember that here some loss will be there. We are talking about lossy audio compression. So we go for a psychoacoustic model. So what is a psychoacoustic model? Here we take help of science, which tells us how sounds are perceived by humans. I mean, what is our way of looking at the sound? In what way we hear the sound? So it uses the perceptual coding. What do you mean by perceptual coding here? We try to eliminate the information from audio signal that is inaudible to the ear. Okay, so you might have generated something. So it happens with a lot of musical instrument. You are able to generate, but it is inaudible to the ear. So here we are assuming a normal human being with a normal hearing capability. It detects the condition under which different audio signal component mask each other. What do you mean by this? Mask each other means I'm not able to hear a particular sound because of some other sound, because of other conditions. So we are going to find out a condition, we are going to find out a situation in which this case happened. For example, if it would have been a live class and I'm talking continuously for 25 minutes and your friend suddenly shows or tells a very important thing to you, it might be a climax of very famous movie. So in that case, what will happen? You are able to hear what he says and you are not able to concentrate what I'm going to tell you. It simply blanks out. In that case, whatever your friend has told you, that sound has masked my sound. So we are going to find out such a conditions where this will happen. That doesn't mean that we will be always taking the example of online class, or sorry, not online, offline class, where you always keep on talking to each other or passing the chats. Okay, so we are going to find out a certain conditions. Psychoacoustic model is used to identify those signals which are influenced by masking. That is, the signals are getting masked, we are not able to hear them, and these signals are then eliminated from the transmitted signal. Hence the compression is achieved. So what are we going to find out? We are going to find out a signal who will cause this masking. So in this case, when your friend is talking, that he is a masker because he has masked my voice. So what will happen? We are going to find out certain signal in situation, and we are going to eliminate a signal which you will not be able to hear, and this way we are going to achieve a compression. So in psychoacoustic model, we have different techniques or different conditions in which these things will happen. So you have signal masking, that I told you what is a masking, because one signal masks the other means that particular sound you are not able to hear. So the signal which is doing this is called as a masker. So you can design the threshold cutoff. What is the threshold cutoff here? We will see. Then you have spectral masking, then you have temporal masking. So spectral masking talk about in terms of frequency, whereas temporal masking talks in terms of time. Threshold cutoff and spectral happens in a frequency domain, whereas temporal happens about in a masking domain, or temporal masking occurs in a time domain. What is a threshold cutoff, or where we will be using it? Threshold cutoff is a function of a frequency. So if you see the previous videos, we have talked in terms of frequency. So we have to find out, we have decided that we are able to hear from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. So not everybody might be able to hear at 20 kilohertz. So you have to decide a certain threshold, that if a particular sound comes and it is above this particular frequency, I'm sure that a normal healthy person or a application where I'm going to send the sounds, they will not be able to hear. So we can eliminate that. Any frequency components below the threshold will not be perceived by a human ear. So this, even if the scientists say that 20 kilohertz, probably at a certain age you will not be able to hear those 20 kilohertz sound also. So we have to decide what will be the threshold cutoff and eliminate or delete all those signals which are above this particular threshold cutoff. Now see the frequency masking. So if you see here, it is a frequency which has been written. Now here the sound pressure level has been written in terms of dB. Now why do we talk in terms of dB? First we will understand that. If you see the literature, the smallest sound which we can hear, okay, if you rate that particular sound at the level of 1, and if you try to find out the amplitude which the loudest which you can hear, you will see that it comes to around 10 raised to 11. Okay, so there is a vast scale which is there between 1 to 10 raised to 11. So if I have to work with mathematical models, mathematical calculation, this will be a very high range. So what do? I convert this into a log scale. So you know that once it is converted into a log scale, then this 1 becomes 0, log of 1 is 0, and then it becomes 11. Okay, so now I can work with this particular scale. Drastically the scale is reduced. So you will see that whenever we talk about sound, we will be talking about dB level. Okay, now coming back to the frequency masking, a sound we normally hear because it is loud enough is masked by another sound with a nearby frequency. Now what will happen? Now see, this is your audibility threshold. This which has been shown, this is your normal audibility threshold. I hope everybody remembers the previous diagram. So this is your audibility threshold. Now what has happened? A higher amplitude or a higher range sound has appeared at this particular frequency. Okay, it is a very loud sound. So because it is very loud, what it has done? It has increased your audibility threshold. See the new graph. Now your audibility threshold is this. So otherwise, a sound which was happening at this particular frequency with this decibel level, a lesser decibel than this particular sound you would have heard, because that is under your, I mean, it is above your normal threshold. But because this particular masker has raised your audibility threshold, you are not able to hear this sound. So we call it as a masked sound, and this serves as a masking. So you might observe this at a frequent scenarios. So we are talking about frequency. A sound at a particular frequency raises your audibility threshold, and you are not able to hear a sound which you would have normally heard. So this is your masked sound and this is your masker. So this is called as a frequency masking. So in this case, what is happening is, if you talk about lower range, the frequency difference is very less. See, what do you mean by this frequency? All these frequencies are divided into a critical band. Okay, now what do you mean by critical band? The experiments have been done that I will choose frequencies from 0 to 50, and then I will try to increase, if the sound happens, a masker happens between these frequency, what is this width of your curve or the audibility threshold is raised by how much frequency. So that has been already calculated, and all these frequencies are divided into your critical bands. So this also, it is available in the literature. If anybody is interested, they can refer these critical frequency bands also. A tone at a certain frequency will raise the threshold in a critical band around that frequency. Okay, louder the sound, definitely larger the mask area. So if you have a very high amplitude, this is your mask area, so you will not be able to hear any particular other frequency sound within this. So this is also calculated in terms of hertz, or it is also calculated in terms of bar. So in the previous slide which I told you, the critical frequency band, so the bar has been mentioned for different particular frequency band. So that is about the frequency masking. Now the temporal masking. As I told you, frequency masking talks in terms of frequencies, whereas temporal masking talks in terms of time. So what happens in temporal masking? After the ear hears a sound, loud sound, it takes a further short time before it can hear a quieter sound. So this is known as a temporal masking. See what is happening here at the 0th time, this particular sound has come, which is of around 60 dB. So what will happen? This is a loud sound. So this 60 dB will take certain time to die down. After the loud sound ceases, it takes a short period of time for the signal amplitude to decay. So the sound which has happened here, it is taking a certain time, approximately I'll say, suppose it is taking 50 or it is taking 500 milliseconds to die down to 0. Now during this time, the signals whose amplitudes are less than the decay envelope will not be heard and hence need not be transmitted. So because it has 60 amplitude, I mean 60 dB amplitude loud sound, the amplitude will take certain time to die down. So you will not be able to hear a amplitude of 30 dB. So after 10 seconds, if a amplitude or a sound, sorry, not amplitude, if a sound of 30 dB is there, you will not be able to hear because the 60 dB amplitude is not yet died down. Whereas after 20 seconds, if that 30 dB sound is there, you will be able to hear. So see, normally if I give you the example of during the Diwali days, see, even if our phone is vibrating, that is a very quieter sound, but we are able to hear that buzzing sound. Now imagine that suddenly a loud cracker has bursted. Okay, so the loud cracker, when it is bursted, it takes certain time to die down. So if it is loud cracker is bursted right now, and within 1 second if your mobile is vibrating, you will not be able to hear that vibration. So your brain takes certain time to to digest those effects of that particular sound. But after the loud cracker, if after certain time, if your mobile vibrates, you are able to hear that. So that is called as a temporal masking. So the frequency masking and temporal masking are the two important phenomena, which with the help of which we go for a audio compression or a audio encoding. So these terminologies are important for you: the frequency masking, temporal masking, and the critical band. Okay, so I hope the concept of this spectral and the frequency, sorry, spectral or frequency and temporal masking is clear. Remember, temporal masking always talk is in terms of time, whereas the frequency masking talks in terms of frequency. So I hope these things are clear to you. That's it for the today's video. Thank you.